What's going on, everybody? Matt Malatesta, Matthew Ogle, 6 rotation volleyball. We're talking volleyball playoffs. Okay, so we have finally gotten to this point of the season in which we love. This is the first round. I'm not sure that there's going to be a whole lot of news coming out of the first round. Maybe a couple upsets because of how the new playoff system is, where the big schools play the big schools and the small schools play the small schools in Class 5A and 6A. So that's exciting. But we'll talk about who we think's coming through. Who's coming through? Who's going to get out of the region? Who's going to go to the state Final Four? Ogle is scared to predict. So he's like, Matt, let's not predict. I'm going to say, BS, Ogle, we predict. We do things controversial here. So we're going to start with 6A Region 2, big school.
D1.
D1. What happens?
All right. Well, we have an exciting matchup coming up with Cy Ranch versus the Woodlands. That's going to be a big one.
That's the second round.
That is the second round. They are both already locked in. They won yesterday. So that's going to be a really enticing matchup. The winner of that, I think they're going to have to play Grand Oaks in the final. I think whoever wins Cy Ranch, the Woodlands, that's going to be the Region 2 final. And we all know what Grand Oaks is capable of. And I think that's going to be a matchup definitely worth watching because the Woodlands, they're way more familiar with them. Cy Ranch, we had them really up high early on in the season, and they're still very proficient. I think they're very
Stop
talented.
using these big words like proficient. Nobody cares about proficiency.
I'm a
We
walking
care about wins and losses. Who wins?
Grand Oaks, I think.
Bless. Grand Oaks is going to run through this region. Okay? The toughest game they might have is they have to play Bridgeland in the second round. Then they got to play Keller. Keller's a little tricky. We don't know a lot about them coming out of Dallas. But then they're going to come back and likely play, let's call it the Woodlands. And they have swept the Woodlands in the district play. So when you have Samara Coleman and you have Hallie Thompson and you have, who's the setter? And
Callie Reese.
Reese.
I think she might be the libero, actually.
She's really good. They got so much experience. And with all that experience going to a state run, I think that experience pays off. Is going to propel them into the state Final Four. Coming out of big school, Region 2. Region 3, we're going to talk about 4 teams because I do think it's going to be a war. You're going to have Cinco Ranch with Cassidy O'Brien, of course, super freak setter. They play Ridge Point, I think in the second round? Or maybe in the first round. I don't know. No, the second round.
No, Ridge Point is playing Dawson, I believe, today. So
tough game.
That matchup's going to be passed. So I think whoever plays that, they're going to provide a very stiff competition for Cinco. On the other side of that same region in that bracket, you got Fulshire playing Seven Lakes in the opener. Another really great matchup. I think whoever wins that one, well, they're going to have to play Pearland too. So Region 3 is the most loaded, no doubt. I think winner of Pearland versus, let's say, Fulshire, I think that's the team that's playing Cinco Ranch. And as much as I like Pearland or Fulshire, I think Cinco's going back to state as well.
Woo! Hot take by the Oakster. Mm-hmm. I would tend, man, I'm going to disagree. And this is, I'm not sure I'm right about this, but I think Fulshire is going to win that region. They're going to beat Pearland, and then they're going to knock off Cinco Ranch. I think they just have a lot of offense. But what's crazy is this. Fulshire has gone from 4A, where they won a state championship, to 5A, to 6A. And they've had tremendous success all around the board. Coaching, expertise, amazing. Tremendous talent. Bailey Warren, one of my favorite players. Okay. So that's big school 6A, region 2 and 3. Small school 6A, let's call it D2. We're going to start in region 3 this time. Yeah. And it's a cakewalk. If there was ever a cakewalk of cakewalks, it's this cakewalk. The Stratford Spartans, pack your bags because you're going to the state Final Four. They are going to cruise through this. Which is kind of cool for them and really a program changer. Sarah Hickman has completely flipped the script on that school. Junior, 6'5", superstar. Coach's doing a great job, but they're very balanced. It's not just her. They got a lot of other stars. Stratford gets to the state Final Four at least.
They're going to have to earn it, definitely. I mean, it's not, I wouldn't call it a cakewalk. It's easier than, I say easier. It's not as challenging. They're going to have to play Tompkins in the second round if Tompkins wins today. Tompkins has experience. They've been to state before. They're not really eager to have an early exit. And if I do think Stratford wins, though, I'll agree with you there. Shadow Creek could provide another interesting clash there, but I would agree, though. Stratford's probably going to state.
That a boy. I talked you into it. 6A, Region 2, D2, kind of taking a flyer on College Park. I think Candace Collins, the coach over there, has really a balanced team. They have a great national elite libero in Morgan Madison. They have a huge middle in Lacey Tinnell, both going to Baylor. They have some outside support that they've gotten. Caroline Prahota has done a very good job at setting. They kind of have a dual setting situation. I think this is their best team they've had in a long time. I think I'm going to take a flyer on them. I'm going to say they go at least 3 rounds deep. They could sneak out of this region.
In terms of Houston, I think they're the most likely. We're not super familiar with some of those Dallas schools like DeSoto, but in terms of other competition, I would argue, given our ignorance of Dallas volleyball, I would say this would be the easiest region because the only other really Houston competitors they're going to likely have to face is Tomball or Oak Ridge, who play in the second round. So, yeah, I think a flyer is a good description of it. I think this is probably the most balanced team they've had in years, and they probably have the highest probability in terms of Houston out of this region.
All right, let's go 5A. 5A, D1, Region 3. Who'd you go to?
Let's go with big old Barbers Hill. The Hill, I think this is the year. They don't have to play Friendswood anymore because Friendswood in D2 will be right with them. So I think they have the balance. They have the talent. Great coaching. Casey Veen, she's fantastic. This is arguably the best team they've had in years, or at least the most deep, the deepest team. They did lose some key players last year, but I mean, given the new structure of the playoffs, I really like to see them go all the way.
Okay, so then in D2, I think this really helps Friendswood. Friendswood is a dangerous D2 team in Region 3. I think they get it out of this region. The only competitor in this region, I think, for them is Lake Creek. Lake Creek has had a very good year, new coach, and I think that's going to be kind of a battle, but I think they played each other this season. I could be wrong about that, but I'm going Friendswood to get out of this region.
I'm gonna be a little ballsy here. I'm gonna say Lake Creek. I don't know. There's Friendswood on paper definitely, but Lake Creek, they've rallied in the big moments. Friendswood's just dominated. I don't know. I think whenever it'll come down to it, and they'll have to play each other if they keep on advancing. They're gonna play each other in the final, Region 3 final. But I don't know. I feel like Lake Creek they've shared the wealth among all of their pieces. Whereas Friendswood, they've relied heavily on Nadia Shelby, but I mean they got several, like Caroline Adams, they got a few others. I'm gonna be at that one. If they make it that far, I want to be at that one. I want to be at that court, and I think a lot of audiences in Houston are going to concur.
Well, okay, so that is kind of what's going to happen in the playoffs. We'll talk about award season later on. Coaches, players, public school, private school. Anything in the private school world you're in love with as it relates to the playoffs?
Well, I haven't exactly looked into it as much as I usually did during the regular season because, we're so freaking busy right now. I don't know. I like, as you know, FBCA, LSA. In terms of SPC, St. John's is really looking good. In terms of 6A, TAP 6A, Concordia Lutheran and St. Agnes, I think those are going to be two exceptional groups. But whenever it comes down to it, I believe Prestonwood Christians in 5A, I don't think it's going to be a tough ask for anybody to try to defeat them.
Well said. Okay, so Matt Malatesta, Matthew Ogle. This is the sixth rotation. We're talking volleyball. Catch us next week as we continue down this path of the playoffs and award season. We got sprinkling some surprises in there for you, maybe some special guests. Okay, so like, subscribe on our YouTube channel, like all of our social media channels. Matt Malatesta with VYPE. We'll see y'all at the games.